Whoa, welcome everybody. Welcome to the final show of the Burn with Mitch for 2021. This is your host, Mitch Bernstein on 12 Ounce Sports Network. I am glad to be with you. We have a phenomenal show tonight, just awesome guests, and we will be talking baseball. As you can see, I am adorning my Philadelphia Phillies hat, one of many that I have. And we will be talking some baseball. Many of you would think that is appropriate for me, and it is tonight here on the show. Let me tell you who we've got coming on. Don't go away for any of it because all three guests I have are going to be full of knowledge, not just about the Phillies, but about baseball itself as a whole, but primarily Phillies. At 6:40 ish, Gabrielle Starr will be coming on. Gabrielle is the inventor, if you will, of Girl at the Game. And she's the editor of the Phillies blog on Fansided. That is at FS underscore TBOH. That's Gabrielle Starr, and her Twitter handle is at GF Star STARR. Talking about the Phillies. She's also going to talk a little bit about the Red Sox because she is a Red Sox fan, but primarily Phillies, and we'll throw in some Red Sox. Talk about the lockout. Talk about who she thinks the Phillies should sign with their allotment of payroll that they have left. 7:05. Following Gabrielle is Patrick Gordon. Patrick has been in the business for 19 years as a baseball writer, Phillies baseball writer. He has the ownership of the Philadelphia Baseball Review. And if you want to look at articles about what Patrick has done, uh, go to philadelphiabaseballreview.com and check it out. Great website, lots of information. We will also get his thoughts about the Phillies 2022 lockout. Love to get different opinions. We'll see what he and Gabrielle think about the lockout. Will it end? I know last week on another show I said I thought it was going to end before spring training. I want to get their thoughts. It should be interesting. Always like to hear conversation and different people's opinions and thoughts as to what they think is going to happen. Last but not least, Peter Golembach is going to be on tonight. As you know, we had some issues with Peter getting on the other week, but he has assured me he will be on. Hopefully, everything is 10-time New York Times bestseller author. Primarily, he wrote a book about Bobby Valentine, my adventurous. It's called Valentine's Way: My Adventurous Life. So we'll talk to Peter about that book specifically. I'll show him that I have at least one of his books, and I know I've read one other one. Davey Johnson, manager of the New York Mets, and Peter Golembach in Bats. And this was done in 1986. Okay, so that came out before the Mets won the World Series in 1986. So we'll talk about Bobby Valentine. Why did he do the book? Why Pete? Why Bobby? Bobby was quirky. He was an iconic individual in baseball. He actually just ran for mayor in November and lost. See if he knows a little bit about that, but that's an interesting piece of quirkiness about Bobby Valentine, which people like. We're going to talk to him about what players he loved to work with, who did he not like to work with, who liked him, who didn't like him. So we'll get from Peter again. Peter, a 10-time bestseller, New York Times bestseller list. You can't get any better than that for an author. So honored and happy to have Peter on at 7:30. All right, a couple of shout outs as we go forward. Daughter friend of mine, one of my daughter's friends, Alex and Nick Anshant, I don't know how you pronounce last name. They welcomed a baby boy today, Liam, Jacob, Enchant, congratulations to them. Um, December 14th. Another birthday. Another birthday. A buddy of mine who I've had the privilege of being on my show and on his show, Phil Stifle at Beard Knowledge. It's his birthday today, December 14th. Last but surely not least, my big brother, Steve Bernstein, guitar playing, grandfather, husband, uncle, son, sibling, is his birthday today. He is 70 years young. Now, that's an age. I'm getting there. Believe it or not, I'm getting there. Oh my gosh, 4 more years. I turned 66. That's a famous root, as you know. I have become Route 66 on December 23rd. Keep those birthday wishes coming in. Happy birthday to my brother, Steve. All right, before Gabrielle gets on, I got a rant. You know, as much as I love watching football and sports, it's just really tiring to watch these divas get their way. And they don't do it indirectly, but, watching that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game on Sunday was just absolutely, I was going crazy because the referees really didn't kind of open their eyes to what should have been some penalty calls on the Buccaneers. Blatant, you saw the replays, blatant holding calls in key situations. Diva Brady goes up to the refs all the time, complains whenever he gets hit, whenever he thinks there should be a penalty or something egregious that happens to him. Oh my gosh, he should get sacked. Well, something should have happened because he doesn't get sacked. And then the absolute worst call of the game, third and inches, third in the yard, whatever. You can see they didn't get the first down. They didn't even measure. Well, because it's Tom Brady. Oh, we got the first down. He's like that crybaby complainer, Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I can't stand them. I don't like them. Play the game. Be mature. Don't be a diva. Don't be a crybaby. Don't be a complainer. Accept what is in front of you. Stop being a baby. And NFL needs to stop catering to Tom Brady. He is just another person on that football field. Is he good? Yes. Is he great? Yes. We all acknowledge that. Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee. Okay? But stop favoring them. It's absolutely ridiculous when you watch TV and see these penalties not being called because it's the Tom Brady Tampa Bay Bucks. It really, really, really pisses me the hell off. And I don't like it. And I'm annoyed with that crap. That's my rant. Okay. No Eagles game this week. They had a bye. We haven't heard much about the healing process. Jason Kelsey, though Quez Watkins is out and JJ Arcega-Whiteside is taking his place. That's not really good news, but that's okay. Devontae Smith is there. And I haven't heard about Jordan Howard. I hope he's good, ready to go. Washington has 2 key players that are hurt. Should move to the advantage of the Eagles, but they've been in this situation before. New York Giants losing. Might that come back to haunt them? Listen, the Washington football team is the last playoff team right now, wild card. The Eagles beat them. I believe they take their place. So, again, lots of discussions we've had this year about the Eagles, and some people wanted to see just development. Many, 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 many others wanted to see them get into the playoffs. I mean, who doesn't want to see their team get in the playoffs? You know, they've improved immensely since day one of the season. Can you believe it's already December the 14th and there's only 4 games left? The Eagles need to win all the first 3, and because they're not going to win a division, but that last game of the season against the Cowboys could determine whether they make the playoffs as a wild card. And a lot of folks were unhappy with the coach at the beginning of the year, the coaching staff at the beginning of the year, through the football season. The coaches have gotten better. Some players have stepped up more than others. And they are a team that, if they play well and they play without mistakes like they've been doing for the past several weeks, and they put their best foot forward and the offensive line is healed up a little bit and Jordan Howard comes back, they got a shot. They have a shot to at least they should win. Again, they should win the next 3 games and then go on to Dallas and or not go on to, but play Dallas in the last game of the season, which could determine a wild card slot. And that wasn't expected this year by many people. So it's going to be interesting to watch the end of the football season and to see what happens and to see who ends up getting to where they want to be in terms of playoffs, NFC, AFC championship game, and then the big game, the Super Bowl at the end of the year. Packers look really good. Aaron Rodgers, although he's a dope, he's good. He's good. So we shall see. Week to week, you never know who's going to win, and it's fun to watch to see what happens in the NFL on any given Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. And I believe we have some Saturday games coming up. I do believe. That's typically what the NFL does. Haven't looked at the schedule lately, but I think there are Saturday games coming up. All right. Gabrielle Starr going to be coming up in just a moment. I'm hoping that she will be here, and I wanted to let you know real quickly. I forgot. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I might have them. Wait. Yes, I have them. You've seen me wear these before. These are called, well, I'll take my glasses off for this one, teamclicks.com. You see, the interesting part of these glasses is you can get every and any team that you want, any professional team represented. This is Eagles. Why are they called Team Clicks? Because you can click them off and click them back on again. Any team you want. Phillies, Red Sox, Eagles. I'm not going to mention Braves. I hate the Braves. But let's see who Gabrielle would want. Gabrielle's here. Let's welcome Gabrielle. Yay, finally. How are you?
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's awesome. How was your trip? I have to ask first.
Oh, it was really great. Thank you. It was great, but it's even better to be back home, honestly, and enjoying the holidays. Currently feeding my dog popcorn so she doesn't bark during her stream.
Okay, she can bark. I mean, contributions, Gabrielle, for anybody, anything are fine.
Well, she really wants the popcorn, so this is the best of both worlds. Yeah, she's eating a lot of popcorn.
Good. So you celebrated Hanukkah there?
Yeah, it was great. Celebrated Hanukkah with my family, and then came home. Had Thanksgiving at home too.
Okay.
Didn't have Thanksgiving anywhere. Just had Thanksgiving at home. And now getting ready for like the Christmas, New Year season, which obviously I don't celebrate Christmas. I do have family members that do though. So, yeah, I mean, this is my favorite time of the year. I currently have on my TV screen like one of those YouTube videos playing that's just like 12 hours of a fireplace. So it makes it seem like you have a fireplace, but I live in the city, so we have no
Yes.
fireplace. And this is way easier, way less smoky, way safer, and it looks amazing.
You love that.
Yeah. So
That's
I have like full coziness going on right now.
Do you feel the warmth of the YouTube show?
You know, I don't, but I will say this is the most first world problem thing to complain about, but our apartment gets like so much natural sunlight that even on the days that it has been 30 degrees, we haven't had to put the heat on because it is so warm in this apartment. Like, it's almost too much natural sunlight. I hate to say it. It's such a champagne problem to have because I'd much rather have too much natural light than no natural light. But we have these windows that I'm sitting next to. The sun shines in them all day long and then sets in them. And the living room and the rooms along this side of the apartment are just blazing hot all the time.
That's
really
good, though. That's
hard
great.
problem to have.
Yeah, saves you a little cash on the electric. They're putting the heat on. That's a great thing.
I use that money to have the TV running with the fake fireplace all day, so it really evens out. But it's really beautiful, but it's very, very warm all the time. Like half the time I'm sitting in my apartment, it's December, I'm wearing a tank top.
And tell people where you are.
I'm in Massachusetts, in Boston.
Yep.
So
yeah, it doesn't stay too warm there in December and January and February. But we're loving it down here, Gabrielle. North Carolina, 66 degrees today. Sun was out. Oh man, it was.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. I don't think we're gonna see. Well, actually, we had like 60 degrees the other day, but it was raining and horrible. Yeah. So I don't think that's the same. That's like global warming.
Yeah, maybe. But Saturday it's going to be 77. But reality is going to hit when I go. We're driving up to Peoria, Illinois on Sunday. So, we're going to get ready for Christmas and that stuff too. So, well, listen, thank you for being here. I did have to catch up. I wanted to see how you were doing and how the trip went. So I'm glad to hear everything went well. All right. It's Phillies time. It's off season. Let's real quickly talk about the lockout. I need your opinion. Is it going to end before spring training? What are you thinking?
Well, not only what I think, but what I'm hearing from a couple MLB insiders is that not only will it not start on time, but we actually might miss some of the season. So if you haven't already heard that rumor, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it also shouldn't be that surprising. We saw this with the pandemic too, and I obviously don't want to compare a lockout that the owners chose to institute to a global pandemic. But just in terms of MLB saying one thing, behind the scenes, something else is totally different. The most basic comparison, no other way am I trying to equate two very different things. But we are in the midst of this lockout that they totally didn't have to have. And the owners chose to do the lockout. And now it's December 14th. The lockout's been in effect for like exactly 2 weeks tomorrow, basically, the next day, whatever, this week. And we are not hearing anything about, and I'll be the first to admit, I don't exactly know what goes on behind the scenes of a lockout. The last time there was an MLB work stoppage, I was a year old, 94, 95. I was 1 and 2 years old. But I will say, the rules of the lockout is that during a lockout, team owners and executives cannot speak to players. We're also seeing the player likenesses, names, photos, etc. cannot be used, which is also why you're seeing teams be very either silent or nostalgic on social media. The Phillies were celebrating Shane Victorino's Rule 5 draft the other day, which I love because I love Shane Victorino. Sure. But let's be honest, during a normal offseason, do they have the time or headspace to remember the anniversary of them claiming him in the Rule 5 draft? Probably not. But since they're not allowed to be posting about like Bryce Harper, for example, or Zach Wheeler, like this is what they can do. It's very difficult for everyone involved. I mean, I'm a sports writer full time, and I'm still a sports writer full time, even though I have literally no rumors or news to talk about that isn't like minor league or historical, and historical is not news. Right. the world is turning, but baseball is stopped. And that is really weird, frustrating, annoying. But unfortunately, it's looking like, as of right now, that that's not going to change in a timely, punctual, scheduled manner. And I hope that ends up not being true, but that's what I'm hearing right now.
I mean, and you said it didn't have to happen, but pretty much everybody knew it was going to. I've been through too many of these to have to, who do you blame? What's the biggest issue? Is it that there's some? Do you think the biggest issue, Gabrielle, is that waiting period, arbitration waiting period? Players want to knock it down from 3 to 2, or is there something else that you've heard that's the bigger sticking point? I mean, the DH is it's there. It's going to happen. That to me is nothing. My guess, listen, we know it's all about money, and the owners have it, and it's the same old argument been going on since the last time there was a lockout. So what have you heard?
I mean, I haven't really heard too much. I'll be honest, I haven't really been focusing on the lockout as much as just trying to write about the teams that I cover, because it really, not to complain because it's a privilege to work in sports, but it really is hard to do my job when there's no news. I mean, because my job is literally to cover rumors, breaking news, how something impacts a team. And it's kind of hard to write about how something impacts the Phillies when there's nothing to impact the Phillies.
Right.
Or any other MLB team, because I do cover, they're my primary team, but I do cover the rest of MLB as well. So one of the biggest things, to me at least, my personal opinion based in what one of the main sticking points is that players can't reach free agency until 6 years of service time. And my issue with this is that it's not like 6 years or 6 seasons total. It's 6 years of service time. So teams will manipulate service time to try and keep play. Like Wander Franco, for example, is one of many players. Tanner Houck on the Red Sox, an amazing pitcher. There are so many players that are major league ready. They're not getting called up. Sorry, they're not getting called up. They're not getting called up in time. Not because they're not ready, or not because their team doesn't necessarily need them, which plays into the thing that a lot of players complain about, a lot of people complain about, which is that certain teams don't care about being competitive, because if they did, they would bring up these top prospects that are ready. It's about service time. The longer that you keep a player down in their service time, the less you have to pay them, and the longer you have until you have to pay them. You talk about club control and arbitration and the major league minimum. The major league minimum is about $570,000 a year. But when you take into account federal and state taxes, that actually comes out to a lot less, and especially depending on the states that you live in, which again, I mean, it's still a salary that a lot of people would love to have. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of people are boiling this issue down to billionaires versus millionaires. Most major leaguers are not Bryce Harper, for example, or Max Scherzer, not these guys that are commanding $30, $40 million a year. To equate it to that, especially when you're also ignoring the fact that minor leaguers don't even have a union to negotiate for them in this fight. There is so much financial inequality. At the end of the day, if you are dumbing it down to that, you are insulting these people who have worked their entire life to get to this point. Yes, most of them are making more money than myself, most people in the world will ever make. But the fact of the matter is, that's not the point. Should we be having a conversation about salary caps and salary floors and how we elevate sports to these pedestals where these people do make this much money when people like teachers don't make any money? We should absolutely be having that conversation. But since we're having this conversation instead, the point is that a team that's worth over $1 billion, which every single MLB team is officially valued at over $1 million now, because we know that to be true. The fact of the matter is that a team saying that they can't afford to pay players is absolutely a lie, because the numbers suggest otherwise. The same way, in the midst of the pandemic, the New York Mets cut something like 30 minor leaguers when the season had already been canceled. And it would have cost them, I think, I remember doing the math, it was something like the $400 stipend was already in effect, but the season was canceled. And it would have cost them, I think, $15,000 or something per week to pay these guys. And they knew that these guys wouldn't be signing with another team because there was a pandemic. There was a lot of uncertainty. This was like May or June of 2020. And there was no way they were going to latch on with another team at that point because there was no season. And they just cut them. That money for the entire remainder of the season would have been about $1 million. You're seriously telling me that the New York Mets, who were on the verge of being purchased by Steve Cohen for billions of dollars, couldn't have afforded $1 million to make sure that these guys could feed themselves? That's a lie. It's a frustrating lie. And anyone who isn't siding with the players in this, to me, either is choosing to be ignorant or didn't make the JV team in their high school, because it's quite frankly insulting that the owners do this and think that people are stupid enough to believe that a billionaire who owns 3 yachts is somehow more deserving of keeping their money than a guy eating ramen noodles getting sent up and down from AAA because his team wants to manipulate his service time.
And living in an apartment with 5 other guys that would fit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know personally, I have friends. I had a friend who used to sleep in his car when he was in the minors in the Giants organization because he literally could not afford a home. He would sleep on friends' couches, and he literally made a name for himself calling himself homeless minor leaguer.
It is.
That's how he made side money, was by marketing himself as being a homeless professional athlete. No other sports league is like that.
I mean, it is. It's so. It's all right. So let's move on, because I think it's important that we do, because we can go on forever on this. Let's go right to the Phillies. All right, lockout not here. I think they missed on Starling Marte. I would have loved to have seen him get play center field for the Phillies. So now, I was going to go around the horn with you real quick. I got 7 to 10 minutes. Hoskins is the worst first baseman they can have. He needs to be the DH. Gene Segura is at second. Who the hell is playing shortstop? Is Bryson Stott going to do it? I don't know. I don't want Didi. And Alec Bohm, I don't care what he's doing down in Florida right now, because he's working on hitting. He needs to play first base, maybe. Who's playing third? Maybe Schwarber in left. Kiermaier, I'm hearing, is a good move in center if they can. Obviously, you got Bryce Harper. And then, the bullpen, I'm not even going to go into that right now. So what are you thinking? What do you think they should be doing after the lockout's over, or there's no lockout?
I mean, they definitely need at least one outfielder. They do have some good, interesting outfield prospects in the AAA-ish area. Starling Marte was like a huge loss. And not only was it a huge loss, they lost him to the Mets. And I literally wrote at the time, okay, so instead of stealing bases for you, he'll be stealing bases from you 19 times a year. That is pretty much the worst case scenario you could possibly have.
Yes.
I think Schwarber is a great fit for them, but sorry, dog is crazy. I think Schwarber is a great fit for them, but all reports indicate that the DH was a sticking point in that he wants a shorter term deal than apparently people were thinking. He reportedly wants something in the 3-year, $60 million range. And apparently he and the Phillies were both interested in a deal. His hitting coach with the Nationals is now the Phillies hitting coach, Kevin Long, who kind of changed, his entire swing last year. He set new career highs in average on base, slugging, etc. Second highest career home runs in the season. Amazing postseason until the wheels fell off for the entire team in the last 3 games. I think Schwarber's a must, but this is where the lockout and the CBA comes into play again, because in the previous CBA, average annual value or annual average value, whatever you call it, AAV, determined luxury tax.
Right.
So regardless of how the Phillies would slice up his contract, if he got 3 years, $60 million or something in that ballpark, it comes out to like $20 million a year, which doesn't give them a lot of room based on what they already have going on. You mentioned Didi Gregorius. He was absolutely terrible this year. He also then blamed his COVID vaccine on his on his injuries, which like, okay, no, you've just been statistically defensively terrible for years. That has nothing to do with the pandemic. You haven't been defensively good since like 2016. I really don't know what they're going to be able to do about that, because the thing is that based on his numbers, not just from this year, but from the last few years, teams are not going to want him. So the idea of trading him with the current money that he has on his contract, you're either going to have to bundle him with prospects and eat some of his money, or you can't even unload him at all. You're paying him like $15 million.
Yeah, it's 14. I think it's a $14 million contract. Yeah.
I think this year it's actually, I think last year is a little bit less and this year was more, or something like that. So I think it was like 13 and then 15, whatever.
Yeah,
with Didi, I think the most that you can hope for is that Bryson Stott does so well whenever we do have spring training that they put him on the big league roster. And basically Dave Dombrowski told him, come to spring training with the goal of earning a spot on the big league roster, as in like, please be ready because we need you, because they know that they can't deal with Didi. I think if they could, they would have already unloaded him with like, 2 or 3 other guys from their system. Of course, they don't have much of a system to unload in the first place. You mentioned the bullpen. I'm actually kind of intrigued by Kent Emanuel. He, I don't know. I just feel like he has this chip on his shoulder because he was upset that the Astros put him on waivers. He had a good debut season this year. It was like 10 games before he had UCL surgery. It was not Tommy John surgery, and that's important because you say UCL, people think Tommy John. It wasn't Tommy John surgery. He's already throwing. He should be ready by next season. He was a really good pitching prospect for them, and he has a huge chip on his shoulder, not only because of the Astros, but because he had a PED test that he failed because of trace amounts in his test. He's one of like several players that this has happened to, where it's like the smallest possible trace amount that like very clearly they're not actually using it, and it's probably in something that they've taken and they don't even know. He now wears the number 0 because he thinks that it's how many games he should have missed, and he was suspended 80 games. He's very, very fired up. The Phillies, quite frankly, don't have a lot of players who play fired up. So having him in the bullpen, they signed Corey Nebel, and he's probably going to be their closer. That's also, intriguing. But at the end of the day, the biggest question for this team is, are they going to go over the luxury tax or not? Because they already have a high payroll. I mean, a lot of that payroll is dead weight, but there's nothing you can do about it. But they have a high payroll. They also have Bryce Harper and Zach Wheeler and JT Realmuto. If you want to not waste those players, you say screw it and you go over the luxury tax. I know that they've never done it before, but why on earth do you sign Dave Dombrowski as your president of baseball operations if you're not going to say, all right, go spend money, bring us some wins? Like, this team has been mediocre for over a decade now. Why would you pay Bryce Harper it's the same thing as Mike Trout? And I'm not saying, I think Mike Trout is a little bit better than Bryce Harper, but the point is, why do you pay a player of the caliber of Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, if you're not going to then build a team around them? It's a waste. It's like putting a beautifully dressed mannequin in a dumpster. It doesn't make any sense. You got to build around them.
Yeah, it's and I thought I heard, and I talked to some folks in the past couple of weeks, right when the season ended, and Dombrowski did an interview. He said, in essence, money was no object. He was given.
They said that the trade deadline too, and then they didn't do it. So they're going to talk the talk the entire time. The question is, will they finally go over the luxury tax for the first time? And the thing is, we've seen it with Dombrowski. He did it in 2018 with the Red Sox, but the results were there. Every year between 2016 and 2018, the Red Sox won the division. But every year they fell short of the World Series or winning the World Series. In 2016, they won the division. They were swept out of the ALDS. Okay, Dombrowski goes and adds Chris Sale, Craig Kimbrell. Next year, they win the division again. This time, they lose the ALDS, but in 4 games, they actually win a game. Plus, it's the Astros, and they're cheaters, so, it is what it is. Then, before 2018, they say, okay, what was our issue this year? Well, David Ortiz retired, and we didn't replace his bat, and unsurprisingly, we finished last in the American League in home runs, so we should probably add a home run hitter. And they signed JD Martinez, one of the only players to ever have a 4-homer game. Boom, 108 franchise record wins in the regular season, ALDS, ALCS, World Series, not even difficult to dispatch the Dodgers. They won like 4 games to 1, I think. Other teams, you saw the Rays this year, they did not do that. When they lost in 6 games to the Dodgers, they instead traded Blake Snell for prospects. They went backwards. If you have a team like the Phillies where they finally finished with a winning record for the first time since 2011, I mean, yes, it was by literally 1 game, but the point is it's still progress. It's their first winning season since 2011. You say, okay, so what were our main issues? Well, our bullpen was terrible. Our outfield was terrible. We didn't have enough bats in the lineup. So you do that and you go out and you get those 3 things. And guess what? Those 3 things cost money. And that's why you hired Dave Dombrowski. If you want someone cheap, hire
me or you.
Yeah, or hire Chaim Bloom.
Yellow, yeah.
Like, why do you hiring Dave Dombrowski and then not letting him spend money is literally just handcuffing him to a radiator, basically. Right. And then it's like, why would you hire him in the first place? I have the utmost faith that if they let him spend the money, they would have Starling Marte right now.
Yeah.
And they don't. They would have Kyle Schwarber already, because it wouldn't matter if annual average or not was in the new CBA. And it wouldn't matter if the DH was in there or not, because they would just say, screw it. And they would, deal with the consequences later. Yeah. It also doesn't have to be you go over it every year. The Red Sox certainly haven't. But the point is, if you want to get out from under the hump of the Braves and now the Mets, yes, the Mets are always embarrassing. But the point is they're now spending money.
Yep.
At a certain point, all those puzzle pieces have to click. And if they hire Buck Showalter as their manager, the chances are their pieces might actually click. I mean, they have Lindor, they have Jacob deGrom. They have an insane amount of talent on that team. They're currently a disaster, but
again, that's why you're going to hire a Showalter. He'll be able to see that. The other piece, Gabrielle, what you mentioned is, like you said, what the heck? Just go all in. Let these guys sign a couple-year contracts. In the interim, if knock on wood, these guys stay healthy. Now you're giving what you do have in the minor leagues a little bit more time to develop, to really see if Mick Abel can pitch and if Bryce Stock can play, and if Alec Bohm can become a better fielder. Then you can. That gives you some time to figure some things out, and then hopefully you get younger and you're good, and you're letting these older guys then fade away and let the younger guys come up who are good. So it's, just spend the damn money. Just do it.
The one thing I will say about what the Phillies did behind the scenes this fall and winter, which was very encouraging, was that they've made a lot of changes, and rightfully so, to their player development side and their farm system. They hired Preston Mattingly. They hired this guy Kilombi from the Rays. They're hiring people to run their farm system who come from running good farm systems. And that's exactly what you should be doing, because these people actually know how to build one, and you clearly don't. Dave Dombrowski is not an expert so much as at building a farm system as he is at making the big trades happen. He has drafted some of the best players of the era, Castellanos, Verlander. But in the more recent years, he's become more known for the big deals. I mean, he was the one that convinced, the Diamondbacks to give them Scherzer in Detroit, which is crazy when you think about it now, all these years later. But my point being, they are hiring people underneath Dombrowski and to stand beside Dombrowski to work on the part of the team that he, at least not alone, can do himself. And that to me is very encouraging, because at the end of the day, even if they do exceed the luxury tax, and you saw this with the Red Sox because Dombrowski depleted the farm system, if you don't have a good farm system, and this has been their problem for a couple of years now, in terms of trades, because they have nothing to trade. If you don't replenish your farm system and build a repetitively, consistently self-sustaining farm system, you have nothing in the tank, and other teams have seen this problem. The Phillies have seen this problem. When somebody gets hurt, God forbid, you don't have anyone waiting in the wings because everyone in the wings is terrible or not ready or will never be ready. I mean, look at Spencer Howard. He's their top pitching prospect for years, and he literally was awful. And then they traded him. And you got some good out of that because Dombrowski somehow convinced the Rangers to pay them $4 million and give them 2 pitchers and a pitching prospect who could be better than Howard. I don't know how he did that. Again, trade master. But you got Kyle Gibson. Ian Kennedy was not good, but Kyle Gibson was moderately good, definitely stable enough for a very unstable rotation. And you added another pitching prospect. So you actually gave up somebody who wasn't remotely good for a guy. But that was your best prospect. Your best prospect went from your best prospect to an absolute train wreck with like a 7 ERA in about a month's time. And in healthy farm systems, that doesn't happen. That guy joins your roster and then he's good and you use him for a long period of time and he actually produces for you. And that's not something you've seen with the Phillies. Like, that's why I'm trying to think of like Alec Baum was good in his rookie season, but like Bryson Stott could be their first real good homegrown player in a long time. And that shouldn't be the case. Like, it shouldn't be so memorable.
Right.
But it is.
I know. All right, listen. I've got to go and get Patrick Gordon on. I can't thank you enough. Finally able to talk to you somewhat in person. Yay. Continue your great work. I appreciate you being here. Proud of what you're doing. And have happy holidays. Enjoy your fireplace, your fire.
Thank you so much, my friend. Happy holidays.
Thanks. Take care, Gabrielle. All right. Next up, we have Patrick Gordon. Patrick is with us. Hello, Patrick. How are you?
Mitch, how you doing tonight?
Doing real well. You heard Gabrielle talking about the Phillies?
Yeah. It's just good to be talking baseball. I mean, in the midst of this lockout with nothing going on. So I'm happy to talk some ball here.
All right, let's do it. When's the lockout, do you think? How long is this going to last?
I knew that was going to be the first question. It's tough to tell. I like to think that owners, especially those that were around, 94, 95, realize, that this isn't, you can't do this again. Add on to that, now you have a pandemic where people are a bit more, in tune with how they're spending money. I don't know if the sport recovers. There's too many issues, and I talk about this a lot, with the Philadelphia Baseball Review, in ways to grow the game. And there's too many things in baseball, and I love the sport, but there's definitely some areas that it can change in. And I think now you never want to alienate people, but now is definitely not the time to alienate, if that makes sense. So, my hope is January, early February, cooler heads prevail. And that they get something taken care of. I wouldn't be surprised if spring training is a bit truncated this season upcoming. I would be shocked if they get to the point, though, where we're shaving games off the season. I really don't think it'll get to that point. At least I hope not. If it has, we're in some real trouble.
So Gabrielle, I asked her obviously the same question. She said she has heard from some MLB insiders that this could last into spring training and they could lose some games. My feeling is this, you hate to think as a fan they'd be that stupid. As you said, all the great points. Right. They're losing people. Philadelphia Phillies attendance, I had somebody on last week. Actually, I was on Phil Stifel's show, Beard Knowledge, on DSM Radio. 18,000 average this past season. That's horrendous. That is, Patrick, that's horrendous.
Now, so, one thing to keep in mind.
Bring it back? What are they going to do if they screw this up again?
Well, and one thing to keep in mind without getting political on any of this, but you also, I believe at the start of the year had, limited seating only. So those numbers are a bit
Yeah.
downplayed for those reasons. But again,
But
going into next season, we've heard January 3rd, the city of Philadelphia is implementing this vaccine mandate in order to enter, the Waco or whatever it's called, where the Sixers and Flyers play. You need to
Wells Fargo.
showcase, you need to showcase your card or proof of vaccination. Citizens Bank's going to be the same way. So, attendance is going to be, I think a big concern. And yeah, I mean, I again, from people I've spoken with and sources, it seems like, all hell will break loose if we lose regular season games. I wouldn't be surprised, again, as I said, from all the people I've spoken with, that the spring training is kind of, cut a little bit and maybe you miss, a couple weeks here to start things off. But yeah, if we're entering April and this isn't taken care of, we're I think in for a very long and sad summer, to be quite frank.
Yeah. All right, so let's go right to the Phillies. We were talking about, they missed out on Marte. To me, that was a huge miss. Gabrielle said, you got these three core guys. You could go for, hopefully Nola comes back. Nola, Wheeler, JT, and Bryce, and even Reese. Okay. I don't want Reese playing first base. I hope they get the DH in there. You got Gene. He played great. They got a lot of holes.
Yes, they do.
Third base, left field, and center field. I'm thinking, I read, and I'm hoping Kiermaier, Schwarber, and I don't know what the hell, like she said at the end, could they just at least, because they're so damn scared of bringing up these young kids. If they did it with Bowman at the end of the year last year, but nothing was at stake, right? And he did great. He had a shitty year.
Yeah.
Can they bring up Stott and let him play?
Well, yeah, and I think that's going to be the plan, to be honest. I don't see them in on Correa or Story or anybody like that. I mean, I would like to see maybe Andrew Elton Simmons. Here I think his glove would be great because the Phillies, again, are one of the worst defending teams in the majors, and I think that's a huge problem, especially when you have an offense that is as anemic and a poor bullpen. So I wouldn't be shocked if Stott starts the year, or entering spring training sort of with the job. But my fear, as has been, and I think Gabrielle was alluding to this, the little part there at the end I was listening to, I don't have faith in how they've evaluated prospects or anything like that. So, I mean, who's to say this isn't the next Scott Kingery? And yes, Kingery's young enough where he could turn things around still. But, I mean, he's not even on the 40-man right now. So, yes, Bryson Stott could conceivably start the season as your opening day shortstop. I just don't know if you want to be a World Series contending team if this is the route to go. And Mitch, you brought up a good point with the core. Harper has been phenomenal his entire time here in Philadelphia. I'm not just talking on the field, but I'm talking about how he's handled himself, everything that he's done. And what I also love about him as a member of the press, and I'm down at the ballpark, credentialed, speaking with him, he doesn't hold back either. And he will tell it to you like it is. And I really feel if things continue to go sideways, or if things aren't moving in the right direction to where we're at least making the postseason, that, you're going to start to hear, I think, more chirping. He's already kind of said it where the farm system, in a very kind and polite, PC way, the farm system is brutal and needs a lot of attention and help. And he can't carry, no matter what he does, he can't carry the team himself. Real Muto, again, one of the best catchers in baseball, age is creeping up, and you're getting to the point where you're in this awkward no man's land where you don't have the farm system to build within. You don't have the chips to trade. What do you do? And Middleton, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago, said, look, the luxury tax isn't something we want to go over unless we are 100% committed to, and again, I'm sort of paraphrasing on this committed piece, but on like, we're going to be a contender. He's not going to go over the luxury tax just to get the second wild card, and I think his biggest mistake was saying the stupid money comment. because I think that's given everybody a chance to go out and say, well, stupid money this, and why are we not in the Freddie Freeman, sweepstakes and all this stuff. And it just kind of has set the organization back, I feel.
Gabrielle said, and I think you heard this too, if you are there with Dave Dombrowski, specifically alluding to Dave Dombrowski, who has a really good track record. And I have a feeling that, yes, our farm system, our talent evaluation has been horrendous. Now, I've heard some things about some of the AA guys and some of the single A guys who, again, we've heard this before ad nauseum, have potential, but they look okay. Now they have a group that's there, Mattingly and his group, that are going to be looking at developing these players. Let's just go all in for a time. Go get Schwarber if he's the guy. You missed out on Marte. Is Kiermaier the next second best? Get your outfield settled. You know what you have in the infield, except for Didi. Let Bryson Stott. He told Didi, you're going to have to work for your position.
Yeah.
Does Bohm become the third baseman? And does he improve his defense? I don't know. So there's one big issue. Your starting pitching isn't that bad. If Nola can come back, you've got Wheeler, Nola, Eflin, Ranger, and Kyle Gibson, whatever. You get your number 5.
Well,
it's not that bad, but it's not great. It's like
but also you can't enter the season like, let's be honest. Ranger Suarez, as great as he was last season, I don't think that's going to be something that he's going to be able to repeat. I think the second season or third season for him, where teams have seen him a bit more frequent, I think, it's expected to regress to the mean, right? You then are talking about, all right, well, shortstop, we're hoping Bryson Stott can be the answer. Alec Baum at third, we're hoping he reverts back to how he was the season before. Then you're talking about center field, or you're talking then about still the outfield. And you know what we haven't even touched on, Mitch? The bullpen.
I know.
I mean, and here's one of the other concerns I have, right? The Braves winning the World Series this past season, and you can argue it was a fluke, whatever. The Phillies the Phillies entered the final weekend of the season within striking distance, or the final week of the season within striking distance of the Braves. I still, though, do not feel that the Phillies are that close to Atlanta.
No.
As far as a perennial contender. And I don't know if anybody's looking, but what they're doing right up north in 95 with the Mets. I mean, Steve Cohen, you want to talk about stupid money. So, this also is putting the Phillies in this, re-emphasizing this very difficult spot they're in of, well, we can't rebuild because we don't have the talent to bring up. We could go out and get Schwarber and Castellanos and others, but is that going to give you what you need? I mean, they could make a run on Greinke or Kershaw or something like that. The problem is,
will those guys hold? Again, we don't know. The problem is we don't know what we have in the minors, right? We don't really know. If they did know, you could hold these guys. You could go get these guys, go over for a year,
right?
Bring these guys in, knowing that in a couple years, because these guys are going to sign at least most of them 2-year minimum, some 1 year, but bring them in and then solidify that minor league system. But you don't know what you have, and that's the killer.
No, and now I will say this, and Gabrielle made an excellent point. They've brought in and almost restructured the entire front office with regard to player development, and they've brought in some people from Tampa Bay specifically that I think are really going to change the face of how things are organized and ran at the minor league level. I think that's a much needed change. I don't know if everybody's aware of all the fighting behind the scenes that went on within the organization. There was quite a bit. Matt Gelb did some excellent work with the Athletic on kind of documenting what went down with Driveline and all these other things. But it's going to take them time, right? It's going to take them time to see what they have scouting wise, staff wise. It's going to take time to figure out this balance between analytics and the eye test and what route they want to go. So it's going to be a little bit for them to get all that taken care of, I think. And we just have to see. We have to see what happens.
Yeah.
I think also coming out of this, the labor situation is how the draft is going to be treated. You know, Jason
Yeah. Yeah.
Stark,
That's it. Yep.
Jason Stark put out a really solid piece the other day, also mentioning, you know, do you do something in, you know, where you decentivize finishing last, you know, where
Yes.
you do a lottery or something, and that could seriously alter where picks go and also how organizations, you know, view the draft.
Yeah.
There's just so much, Mitch, and we're not even talking about, you know, are we bringing in universal DH, right? Because that also changes your strategy. You know, then Kyle Schwarber becomes more of a play. You know, I don't really want him defensively out there, but his bat, I want.
Yes.
You know, and Kiermaier, I love his glove, his offense. You know, at times, you know, leaves a bit, and you know, the way this offense is built, it's just so streaky. It's so
Yeah, that's what
streaky.
it is. It's always been. It's been that way for years, right, Peter
Yeah.
Bradshaw? It's like, oh my God. Now they went on a big run this past year. It's the biggest one they've had forever.
Yeah.
But the year before, I mean, forgetting COVID, I think it was 2019. The most ever they won was like 3 or 4. It's like, what is the deal with this team? Up and down, 5 runs, 0, 5 runs, 2.
Yeah,
all
it's
right, real
maddening.
quick.
Yeah.
Such a great topic. We could go on forever on this. The Hall of Fame vote and the loss of the inability for Dick Allen to get in. It's a shame. It's shameful. Mark Carfagno, unbelievable work for years on this. I mean, I was devastated. I'm listening to it. I'm watching the play on my iPad, and I'm like, he's not going to get in. Are you kidding me? One short again. It's just a shame.
It is, and I don't know what more Mark could have done. For those that don't know, Mark Carfagno has been the biggest supporter of Dick Allen, and he's, you know, just done everything he possibly can. He was down in Orlando for the vote.
Yeah,
he's really been a massive supporter and getting word out, and really, you know, I firmly believe that he has really helped Dick get to this point.
yes,
You know, this close, and you know, Mike Schmidt had an excellent portfolio of information that he shared. The Phillies, I thought, did an outstanding job of retiring his number, putting him on the Wall of Fame at Citizens Bank, and then also promoting him as much as they possibly could, you know, to sway the voters here. You know, he's up again in 2026, 2026.
yes.
I think it's 2026.
26. Yeah,
You know, I mean, you can't even. I mean, he should be a slam dunk at that point, but the fact that it hasn't happened yet is an absolute disaster. Wrote a couple things down here with Gil Hodges, right, getting in.
yeah,
Again, no knock against Gil, obviously, great ball player. You look at his numbers versus Dick Allen's. Dick Allen blows him away if you look at WAR per 7 seasons and JAWS and all the Hall of Fame metrics. So you got to sit there and think, all right, well, what else is it about Dick Allen? And, you know, yes, we know that race played into it. We know that there was, you know, instances where he didn't get along with the fans and vice versa. But I mean, are we not past that yet?
yeah.
And it's a shame. It really is. And I firmly believe that, you know, he is the most deserving player not in there. And it's probably been that way for the last 5, 6, 7 seasons.
Yeah,
You know,
it's at least 2014, right? It was that he missed it by one again.
Yeah.
It is a shame because you put him up and you see all the stats, the WAR and the OPS and those 7 was it 64 to 72, and he's behind he's behind guys who were easy Hall of Famers, and it just
Aaron Clemente, Mays,
doesn't
Dick
make
Allen.
any
He's not
sense.
there. No.
It doesn't make any sense. And
No.
you know, I talked to Mark a couple years ago, actually, when I started the show, and you know, I think it was in the 2014. Somebody got sick. I think.
Yeah.
Does this ring a bell? And
One of the voters.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they couldn't make it, and they took his place, and they think it was something that had to do some kind of a racial issue that he had. That was the reason why he didn't get voted for.
It's a shame. And, you know, having had the pleasure to speak with Dick a couple times at various functions, he was, to me at least, a gentleman. And, you know, yes, things went wrong as a player. But look, I can't put myself in those shoes. You know, I can't imagine what that was like. You would like to think you hear time heals all wounds. In this instance, you have to wonder what else is there.
Yeah.
Somebody also said to me recently when I was discussing Dick Allen, and I didn't explore this a whole lot, but that the White Sox have done very, very little in comparison to the Phillies to really help propel Dick
Yeah.
Allen's chances. And, it turns into, well, why is that? And, I just don't know. I don't know. But you also have to think for those voters to not be persuaded by Mike Schmidt and what he had to say,
Yeah.
then you're just entering this already with, I think, some negative thoughts in your mind. I just don't know how or why.
And I've read lots of accounts of, he was not a mean person. I mean,
No.
he had to become defensive, but yet you would hear all these stories about him treating people and kids and other folks like
Right.
he's a true gentleman.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah,
sad thing for the family.
it is.
And there was one baseball author who I posted this stuff, and he was but based in Philadelphia, and yeah, he made some kind of comment that really, really, really rankled me. I mean, I was really pissed.
Yeah.
He's dead. What is it? What does it matter anymore? I'm like, really? You're a baseball author? So what is the? I said he has a family.
Yeah.
The family is trying to help him with his
Right.
legacy. I was like, are you kidding me? You
Well,
write books and you're saying this stuff?
not only that, it cheapens the value of the Hall of Fame. I mean, look, it's bad enough we have writers today, right? And I unfortunately don't have the pleasure to vote. I'm not part of the BBWAA, but
Right.
those that are submitting blank ballots, right? Or submitting ballots that are really ridiculous, like voting for Barry Zito or LaTroy Hawkins, right? And being that one vote.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing? And I also know far too many former writers that still have the ability to vote. And you know what bothers me a little bit, because they're not in the day-to-day, they're not in the game still. And many of these former writers are carrying these vendettas, I feel.
Yeah,
It's
probably
just
right.
it's just not right. Now, with that said, too, we're going to have an interesting go over the next couple of weeks with Schilling, with
Yes.
Bonds,
Yes.
Clemens, and I mean, come on now. Whatever Dick Allen may have done, it isn't, in my mind, worse than PEDs.
Right.
And I still think,
Exactly.
and it burns me to say this, but I still think Bonds belongs in. I think Clemens belongs in. I wasn't in agreement with that 5 years ago. I was staunchly
Right.
against it. But
Right.
look, we can't rip an entire era of baseball out of the history books. We just can't do it.
Right. Yeah. That's such a controversial topic. Bonds he's a jerk, but he's the only one. Now Clemens, I talked to somebody about this last week. I mean, Clemens and Schilling, they're really
Schilling
good.
belongs in. Schilling belongs in there. I mean,
think Clemens does too.
if Musean is in there, Schilling does. And I don't disagree. I think Clemens does too. Schilling, again, rankled people with his political beliefs and stuff that he said. And some of it, yes, I agree. Maybe a little,
Mhm.
Off color, incorrect to say.
Right.
Clemens involved with PEDs, and then also with the allegations with McCready. So, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff there. Bonds just being
Right. Right.
a jerk to everybody.
Yes.
I don't know, but it's not the hall of let's be nice people. I mean, if we went through there
Right. Oh yeah.
and looked at the plaques and said, this guy's a jerk, get rid of him. This guy, did this at home, get rid of him. I
Right.
mean, we're not going to have much of a Hall of Fame at that point.
Exactly. All right, Patrick. Thank you for being here. I'm waiting for Peter Golembach to come on. Hopefully he will make it today. I just texted him on Facebook, messaged him, wondering if he's going to come on. Hopefully he will. I want to hear about Bobby Valentine and the book he wrote. So
interesting.
But thank you for coming on. 19 years as a Philly. You don't look that old, dude. How?
No, I'm 39, and I've been doing this since freshman year of college. Big shout out to Ted Solari, former guy at the Daily News. Really helped me get my foot in the door. Been working my tail off ever since, between journalism and writing, the Philadelphia Baseball Review, doing freelance stuff, worked with Baseball America, and then also teaching classes at Temple,
cool.
doing everything I've always wanted. So big props to all the people that have helped me get here.
Well, congrats to you. The review is awesome.
Thank you,
so much information on there. I had no idea until I talked to you and found out about it.
Yeah.
Follow that thing. Got to go on there and see what's going on. It's great.
Appreciate it. All right, Mitch. Well, anything you need, feel free to reach out. I enjoyed it with you.
Thank you. Have a happy holidays to you.
Thank you. Same to you and your family.
Thank you. Take care now.
Bye.
All right. That was great conversation with Patrick Gordon. Waiting for Peter Golembach to come on. Want to talk about his book, Valentine's Way. Looking forward to getting him on. Hopefully he will be able to make it tonight. I might just give him a call to see if he's going to respond, and then we can just do it the old-fashioned way. So let's just give Peter a call and see if I can get him to come on with me via the phone. Okay. All right. I am calling Peter now. Let's see if I can get him.
The number you have reached is not in service.
Well, that's not good. That's not a good thing at all. Did you hear that? The number that I've reached was not in service. Let's try that one more time. I'll put the 1 in front of it. Okay. Let's see if it works. Oh, it's ringing. It's ringing. It is ringing. Let's see if we get Peter.
I'm on my way.
Hey, Peter.
Yes, sir.
It's Mitch.
Hi, Mitch.
I figured
I'm on my way.
I'd give you a call. Do you want to just do it this way?
You want to do it on the phone, or do you want to do it with the Zoom thing?
Did you get that link?
Yeah, no, I got the link. Hang on. I just
Okay.
as usual, I was sitting and shooting the shit and not paying the attention that I should have been paying. Hold on.
Hit that link. I'm not going anywhere. Let's see if that works. Good. I'm right here with you. So we'll.
Hold on.
Okay. I'm not going anywhere. Okay. Click that link. It's going to ask you to, I think, put your name in and then join. All right. There you go. Top of the mail. Click that link, buddy. All right. No, just click on that on the computer. And then it'll ask you to put your name in, I think, and then click join meeting. Let's see if it comes up. Yep. Let's see if you get on here. You can't? Oh, you can. Okay. All right, I'm waiting. It might take a minute. Let's see. You see you. I can't see you, unfortunately. Join. Yeah, no. For some reason, it's not. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Hey, I'm going to hang up the phone.
Okay.
Peter.
Yes, sir.
How are you, buddy?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm terrific. Thank you for coming on. An honor and a pleasure. I need to show you something first.
Okay. Should I hang up this phone?
Hang up the phone. Got to hang up the phone.
Okay. We're hanging up the phone. There you go. Beautiful.
There we go.
Look what you have. My bats.
Yes.
You have my bats.
I got
All
that.
right.
Love it. Love it. I don't remember.
I had so much fun doing that book.
Did you really? Oops. Did you really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about Bobby.
Hang on one second. Let me have my wife turn the TV down so I can hear you.
Okay.
All right, she hears me. All right, shoot.
That's when the wife hears you, it's a good thing.
All right, now we're good.
Okay. So tell me about Bobby. Why did you want to do this book about Bobby? What made you want to do this with Bobby?
When I was a senior in high school, I went to see Ripple Arm High School play a baseball game in the spring. And I couldn't believe it. The shortstop was a ninth grader. I mean, it's amazing when the ball player is a junior on a high school baseball team. And this kid was a freaking ninth grader. It's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Well, it turned out to be Bobby Valentine. And 2 years later, I went to see, I grew up in Stanford. That's how I know this.
Okay.
He's from Stanford. I'm from Stanford. So
Right.
I was able, my mother taught at Stanford High School. So we played, Ripple Arm and Stanford played each other. I went to St. Luke's School in New Canaan, Connecticut. So I didn't have a, you know, I didn't particularly have a rooting interest in this game. But one Thanksgiving, I went to see Stanford High School play Ripple Arm High School. Bobby Valentine scored 5 touchdowns for Ripple Arm High School. 5. And it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And he was drafted in the first round by the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Okay. Yep.
And he was going to be Ichiro. That's how spectacular this guy was. He was going to be Ichiro. When really? He was, when he was playing in AAA, he had a ridiculous number of steals and a very high batting average, and he was a force.
And so you followed him throughout his career.
Well, I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut. Okay, I was a Yankee fan, so I followed the Yankees. First book was Dynasty, which was a sequel to a book on the Yankees written in 1946. So, I was, once he went out to the Dodgers, I really sort of lost track of him.
Okay.
But from doing this book with him, which was just a wonderful, wonderful experience, the guy's just a tremendous, tremendous force. Normally, when I do a book with somebody, I talk to them for between 20 and 25 hours. Mm-hmm. Bobby and I talked for a good 40 hours.
Wow.
And every conversation we had, I was just enthralled. In my opinion, even though I'm the author of this, in my opinion, this is the best book that I've written since The Bronx Zoo.
Oh, I love The Bronx Zoo.
Yeah, well, that's every story he tells is just magnetic. It's just, if you're a baseball fan and you care about what happens between the players and the manager and the players and the general manager and the players and the owner, and then you become a manager, and as a baseball fan, you want to know, why do managers get hired? Why do managers get fired? That sort of thing. You read Valentine's Way, you'll find out. I guarantee you will find out.
And as a fan, and as many fans, that's the kind of stuff we love. We want to eat that up. We don't see that stuff. We have no idea. And that's
nobody tells the truth. Nobody, because they're all protecting their image. Bobby doesn't give a shit. Bobby didn't care. Well, Bobby was Bobby. I mean, you'll see in this book, you read this book, you'll see how many times Bobby says something. And the thing that he says, it goes into the newspaper and gets him into serious, serious trouble. I was going to call this book Big Mouth. That's what I was going to call it originally, Big Mouth.
Right.
But I thought that was a little bit too harsh. And when he was in Japan, and he was the manager of the Chiba Lotte team in Japan for 8 years, they named the street adjacent to the ballpark Valentine's Way. And that's why I named this book Valentine's Way.
Was he more liked by players? Did it depend on the organization he worked for? Did he have a great reputation amongst players as being a player's manager?
It's like anything else. Some people love you. Casey Stengel said it once. You want to keep the players who are sort of so-so about you separate from the players who hate you.
Okay.
You're hoping that the majority of the players love you.
Right.
And certainly many of the players did. Well, let me go back. He was drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first round, and he went to Ogden, Utah, to play for Tommy Lasorda.
Right. Okay. I read that.
And so he is a manager straight out of Tommy Lasorda's mold. Tommy Lasorda was the sort of manager at the time. Walter Alston was Los Angeles Dodger manager. Walter was an old school manager.
Right.
He had been managing the Brooklyn Dodgers starting in 1954. And every year they gave him a 1-year contract. And he was happy with that, and it was a my way or a highway kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Lasorda was a different kind of a cat. Tommy Lasorda, as Bobby told me, would know the names of every player's wife, the name of all the players' children. He would put his arms around these people and love them. It's today's manager. And Lasorda was really one of the very, very first when this was happening. And this is in the early 1970s.
Right, yeah.
And so fascinatingly enough, they had a spectacular team in Ogden and also in Spokane, Washington, where Lasorda was the AAA manager, where Lasorda asked his players to write a letter to the guy who was playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers and tell him why he was coming to take his job. I mean, these are kids. They figured, okay, my manager told me to write this. Okay, I'll go and write it.
Right.
The only one who would not write that letter was Steve Garvey. And every one of the players who wrote that letter got the black ball, from Walter Alston.
Oh, is that right?
Bill Buckner should have been the first baseman.
Yeah.
He wasn't there. Pachorik should have been an outfielder. Wasn't there. Bobby should have been the Dodger shortstop. He had written to Maury Wells to tell Maury Wells that he was coming for his job. Alston had no use for any of them. Got rid of them all. Buckner went to the Cubs. Bobby was traded to the California Angels, where he started. When he started with the Angels, he was playing for a manager by the name of Bobby Winkles.
I remember
Winkles.
him. Yep.
Winkles had been a college coach, college manager, and Bobby loved Winkles. Absolutely loved the guy. And so one day, Winkles asked Bobby, "Would you mind playing center field today?" He didn't want to play Mickey Rivers. It was the second center fielder because Winkles' philosophy was to run, move, go, go. And Mickey Rivers was a guy who sort of dragged his feet
Loped
and
around.
did everything very, very slowly. So Winkles said to Bobby, "Would you mind playing center field on this particular day?" Because Bobby was going to be the starting shortstop for the California Angels. And on this day, somebody hit a fly ball to the fence. And Bobby went to catch it and cut his leg, his spikes, in the fence and shattered his leg. And that was pretty much the end of his stardom and the beginning. He did play 10 years in the major leagues, but he was never ever the force that he should have been.
Not the same after that. Yeah, I did read that too.
No.
What do you think? So when you think about why you wrote the book, was it because of his because he was who he was, and or he made some what kind of contributions would he say he made to baseball?
Well, he was one of the very first who believed in analytics. When he was the manager of the Texas Rangers, he believed that there was one way to throw the ball, that there was one way to hit the ball. And he had coaches who believed in that along with him. Tom House was his pitching coach. And they worked hand in hand to develop pitchers to throw the way pitchers ought to be throwing. And he also had, he had computers in his office. He had, this was just when they were starting to get, go into get satellites from the sky.
Yeah, technology.
He put a freaking satellite. He put us out there. The Texas owner gave him a choice. You can either have an advanced scout or you can have your satellite. You can't have both. And he chose the satellite over the advanced scout because the satellite enabled him to get pictures of games in other cities.
Yeah. Smart move. Really.
Smart
move. I didn't know. Who knew that, again, he was ahead of his time. As you're telling me,
he was indeed ahead of his time. He was a very brilliant, observant baseball guy.
That's interesting because you said computers, 70s. What the hell? When did that happen? They were like, they were like the size of this room. I mean, that's what computers are like, right? You remember that? That's interesting. He was.
Let me tell you something, Mitch. This whole book is interesting. If you're a baseball fan, and I don't usually promote my books this way,
right?
But I had such a phenomenal time writing this thing. I know that if you're a baseball fan, you will have the same reaction when you read it.
Yeah, I can't wait to get it. Anything that you're surprised about him?
Well, I go into these things. I go into it with a blank sheet. I mean, I never expect anything. I'm not anticipating anything.
Right.
And so when you get somebody as brilliant as this guy, every interview I do, I'm just amazed and shocked at how fabulous this guy is.
Yeah.
I did the Bronx Zoo with Sparky Lyle. It was kind of the same thing. It was like, whoa, you're telling me this? How fabulous.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, again, for us fans. It's something that, and that's why I love baseball, because there's so much interaction that goes on, right? You know this from years of doing all these books. And as a fan, you just don't know. And to be inside, like the Bronx Zoo, to be inside the locker room, to be inside these guys' heads, as a fan, like Jim Bouton's Ball 4. Holy crap, I read this as a teenager. I'm thinking, wow. This is what they look at. They look at women in the stand. That's the kind of stuff that shocked me as a teenager. Like, this is pretty cool.
This book is really on a par with Ball 4 and with the Bronx Zoo.
Okay.
That's how intimate it is to see, why do guys get hired as managers?
Right.
Tom Grieve and he sat on the bench together, I believe with the Mets, and became very, very, very close. And Grieve got to see what a brilliant baseball mind this guy had. And so when he became the general manager of the Texas Rangers, he called Bobby. He says, I want you to be my manager. Mm-hmm. Well, you wonder, how do these things happen? Why did they get fired? And then there's incredible stories about, with Texas, for instance, the guy who hired Bobby, the owner who hired Bobby, went bankrupt. So he had to sell the team to another guy.
Right.
And he didn't get along with the other guy as well as he did with the guy who hired him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's business, but you don't hear about that kind of stuff.
It's what happens. I mean, Mets fans will so be interested in the several years that he had managing the New York Mets. It was nuts. It was absolute craziness.
Well, I mean, the one, as you know, I'm going to talk to you, say this to you, is about when he got ejected and he came back with the disguise. And people wondered.
It's one of the great stories about his disguise. I mean, it's one of the things he remembered. He's remembered for the most. That's the funny thing. And he had help. You know, Nolan Ryan and one of the other players helped, paint his face up and gave him the glasses.
That's funny.
I know.
That's amazing. And you think of Noli as such a straight-laced guy, but
absolutely right.
That's funny. Wow, that's great stuff, Peter. We don't want to say anything more. Let people get the damn book.
There's a lot of great stuff.
I can't wait. I mean, listen, I'm here. I'm looking at your background, and it's obviously full of. You can't see back here, but I have a bookcase of 3 shelves. My wife is pissed off every time I get a new book. Don't tell anybody.
That's funny.
I got a new book yesterday, and I'm getting yours, and I'm getting another one because I can't get enough. I can't get enough.
I'm dealing with my my headset here. It's not easy. I'm working on it though. Eventually, I'll see myself again.
Yeah, I see it. That's good enough. We've got 2 more minutes.
There you go. I'm back in business.
There you are. I only got 2 more minutes. I'm going to go on to the next show with another guy. So, that's a great thing. And you mentioned here Noli, Ichiro, Gary Carter, Piazza, Seaver. I mean, all those guys.
You talk about each of these people, and it's like, 4 or 5 or 6 pages of intimacy about each one of them.
It's awesome.
Nolan Ryan, for instance, was a free agent, and it came time to decide where Nolan Ryan was going to go.
Right.
And Mrs. Ryan called in Bobby to talk to him, and she said to him, "Will my kids be allowed in the clubhouse?" Because wherever he was before that, it might have been Dick Williams. Dick Williams, or whoever the manager was, said, "No kids are allowed in the clubhouse." Okay. So Mrs. Ryan said to Bobby, "Are my kids going to be allowed into the clubhouse?" And Bobby said to her, "Your kids can come in the clubhouse. They can run around. They can do whatever they want. They're welcome anytime they want to come." And quite frankly, for that reason, that's why Nolan Ryan signed with the Texas Rangers.
And it is. These little tidbits, these little things that help. We don't know that you have allowed us to get into. I cannot wait to get the book and read about this stuff, Peter. It's just I'm intrigued. I'm excited. And listen, you're only a 10-time bestseller. How good can it be, right? It's going to be awesome. Listen, I wish I had more time with you, but I've got to get going.
Okay. We can always do this. We can do this again next year if you want.
That'd be awesome.
Sure.
I'm so honored that you were able to come on.
Sure. After you read this thing, call me and tell me what you think.
Okay, I'll do that. All right. Happiest of holidays to you and your family.
And same to you, and a very happy New Year to all you and your and your viewers.
Thank you very much, Peter. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on. I just can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much. Take care, Mitch.
All right, take care, Peter. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, that was awesome. Peter Golembach, that is the 10-time New York Times bestseller. Read his books, The Valentine's Way, My Adventurous Life. It sounds awesome. I'm going to get it. That's it for 2021 for my show. I thank you all. Have great holidays. Happy New Year. I can't thank you enough for listening and being part of what I've done here. I really appreciate it. Coming up next, Captain Lou, Tyler Canaline, CMU Division III, American College Hockey Association head coaches coming on. Steve Finnemore talking NCAA hoops, NFL playoff scenarios, college bowl talk, Captain Lou extravaganza coming up in a matter of seconds. Thank you all again. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. We will see you in 2022, January the 4th. Take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.